Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me here tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That's 9:30 Eastern and 6:30 Pacific. And it's a time where we can relax and craft together for about an hour. And I work all the way through projects from beginning to end, so you can be part of the whole process along the way. So we are continuing with the Splendid Sampler 2 quilt along. We are doing Betty's Bloom right here, and we are pretty far along. So we have all of our A pieces done. So we're doing foundation paper piece. So here are the A pieces. We have 4 of those complete, and we are working on our B pieces. So these are the B's. We're almost done. We have 1 more to put on there. And then we'll be assembling all of these together. And that is another little task of the foundation paper piecing. You have to do all your sections, and then you got to put those sections together. And there's some tricks to doing that. So we'll be doing that. Yes, Amy, I thought I'd put my hair down just to show you guys how long it's gotten. So I know it's so long now. So I have not cut my hair at all. Like I haven't even trimmed it or anything since I got it like almost buzzed. Like it wasn't all the way buzzed, but it was shorter than a pixie cut. That's when I donated my hair 2 years ago on Halloween. And I wanted to just show how long it is. So, you know, it grew from nothing, right? So it's all different lengths. So in total, this is about 2 years of growth right here. So I don't know if that's a lot or a little, but this is how long it's getting. So I thought I'd just share that with all of y'all tonight. But yeah, it's been 2 years since Halloween. Halloween 2 years ago is when I got it cut to like nothing. And you can watch old videos to see how short we actually cut it. I needed to grow it long enough to donate, and I still, if I do it again, I would need to grow like probably another 4 inches or so for it to work out. I think you need like 12 inches or so, and this is not quite 12 inches. So anyway, I got a ways to go if I do that again, and I keep it up all the time, so might as well just keep doing it, I figure. Keep donating it. But anyway, all right, you guys, I'm going to flip you around, and we'll get started tonight. All right, there's a stack of schmutz from the past few nights, and here we go. So we kind of laid out where we were so far last night. So we have our A pieces and our B pieces. So we can start to see kind of that pinwheel thing happening. So here, I close the page. What page was it on? 123, I think. Yep, there we go. So there we go. You can kind of start seeing it develop the shapes. So I'm going to move this away, and we're going to work on these B pieces. That's the piece with these orange bits in. We have that 1 extra corner to do. So this little corner, that is what we have to do on all of them. And we are going to do it with the white fabric. So I got my white, little scrap of white here. All right, just so I don't confuse myself, I'm going to move my A pieces away, and we'll get going on our last piece in the B section. Oh, you remember when I cut my hair? Yeah, I just don't do anything with my hair. I don't know. I suppose I just don't know how, really. So I just put it up every day so it's out of my way. So my ponytail has just been getting longer and longer and longer over the past, couple of years, I suppose. All right, I'm going to try and get it out of all this goofy area here. So I'm just going to give that a little press quick. Oh, I've got to heat up my iron. So while that's heating up, I'm actually going to cut out that last template piece. I think this has been helpful, having that extra photocopy and cutting out the pieces with my little silly scissors here. Cutting out the pieces to use as a template. That's been helpful, I think. You don't need to. Sometimes I just use my template here, and I kind of can look at this. I can lay, instead of laying this on the fabric, I can lay the whole thing on the fabric and kind of estimate that same piece around. But it has been kind of a little bit easier with the pieces cut out. So, all right, let's scooch these all away. Here's the one with the notes on, with the colors. We're doing this last piece white. All right, so, well, I guess we're going a little out of order here. While my iron's heating up, why don't we cut our seam allowances? So for that, I'll get my glove on again. So we're gonna put the postcard on the line in between B4, which is what we're working on now, and whatever came before. So now that means we're concerned with this line right here. None of these other lines in the piece matter. It's just that line right there. So we're gonna cover everything else up. Ooh, now I'm getting my hair just everywhere. That's the thing, when my hair's down, it just, I don't know. Hair is everywhere all the time, I suppose. All right, I'm gonna get my cutting glove on. So let's fold this piece up on there, and that reveals our seam allowance. And right now, it's all big and weirdly cut because we just cut a blob out. Let's get our add a quarter, put it right on the edge there, trim, and there we go. Now we have our perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we can put that back. So let's do that to the other 3. If you haven't done foundation paper piecing before and this is your first time on, I encourage you to watch last night's video, because that will give a little bit more instruction on how we started a piece and working our way through. However, tonight we are going to start assembling these pieces, and that is a little, there's a little bit of a process to that we haven't done yet. On this particular block. So that'll be good. I'll walk you through that tonight. And last up, it's quick doing these all things that are the same all at once. All right, that step's done. Get rid of the glove. All right, so now we can get our fabric pieces, and I'm going to use that extra printout that I did. I'm going to use that piece that we cut out as my template. So this is just a copy of that B4 piece here. Oh, yours was too fat at the seams. Leslie, mine will probably be very fat at the seams as well, because we are going to sew it with all the paper. And, you know, we got all these seams. Every time, you know, 2 fabrics meet, we're going to have a seam. So it is going to be rather thick. We will have to deal with that a little bit. And that's just kind of the nature of foundation paper piecing. All right, we got this cool little triangle here. I suspect it is a hair too small. Yeah, we need a piece that's this big plus our generous seam allowance. So I'm going to actually just trim this out of our way. That's going to be too small. But we can get our other globs out of here. So I do like having the parts that's meeting up, the 2 pieces, that's the side that I want to get on the straight edge. So I'm going to actually go like this, and this is going to be my straight edge. So a generous seam allowance. I think I'm going to cut out blobs with the rotary cutter tonight. Sometimes it's just faster. There we go. So the one trick with the white fabric is that it's not printed. It doesn't have a right or wrong side. And right and wrong sides are pretty important with foundation paper piecing. So I'm going to have to just remember that I have the right side down, and this is going to be the wrong side. And I also want to remember that this is the edge that is my straight edge. I almost want to write a note on there, but I'm going to just try and remember. So this edge is the straight edge. Let's do it down here. Still don't want to really waste fabric. So I want to get this edge a little bit straighter. So I'm just going to trim it up a bit. You had the problem that your last foundation paper piece block where all the seams met in the center was very thick. So I suspect mine is going to be like that too. Oh, and even if we didn't foundation paper piece this, if we had managed to do this without foundation paper piecing, it still would be very thick because that is where all the seams meet up. All right, I'm going to try and place these all the same way to make it easier. It's a little goofy what I'm doing here, but I think it'll work. I'm making a mess out of this piece of fabric, but I think in the end it's going to be good. So I'm wearing my glove today. All right, before, there we go. Again, that's the straight edge I'm going to match. And how about right there? But I want to get the straight edge better. So let's get this straight edge a little bit nicer. Okay, and all right, we'll loop around like this. All right, and I don't need this extra. All right, we got some blobs for sure happening here, but I think we're going to be very good. All right, so there we are. So these are the straight edge sides. So this is the straight edge is what I have to match up with this line with the straight edge that we just did here. And this is the wrong side, and these are the right sides. So I think I got that figured out. So let's pin it before I forget. So, all right. Wrong side. So it goes like this. And I'm going to just flip that around. And those are my two straight edges. I'm going to just match them up. So now I have right sides together. I think I can tell already that I'm going to be placing it in a just fine position, but let's pin it just to make sure. So flipping it back around with those edges still matching, and I'm going to pin along the line that I'm going to sew on. Oh, Jennifer, I hope it went all right. Jennifer says she's just got back from the dentist. All right, so there we are. Let's do our test press. And we are definitely covering all of our edges with that generous 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're gonna go. You always do the pin test. I do too, Gretchen. It's just too risky not to sometimes, I think. You know, even like this little nick that I have out of it, if I had that too far over, then it wouldn't have really worked out. But there we go. It's still going to look like a crazy blob, but once we trim it, it'll be perfect. All right, so this guy's ready to sew. Let's get the other guys ready. All right, again, this is the wrong side. Get rid of that guy. Fold these together. There we are. Flip, and let's pin those. Oh, you guys, it's airplane o'clock tonight. It must be putting all the airplanes in our direction tonight. All right, flip these up. Jennifer, that's good. Jennifer says she didn't bite the dentist, so that's always positive, I suppose. All right, this guy's ready. Next up. All right. Match those straight edges. Looks good. Oh, you hear planes at your house too.
It's definitely more at certain times of day, that's for sure. Flip this up. All right, looking good still, and one more to do, and then we can sew these last pieces on. This one's a little bit smaller, but I still think it's plenty big. We will check to make sure. Oh, you live 5 miles from the airport and you hear planes a lot. Yeah, all the people closer to the airport, the city has given them like soundproof windows, but that's no good if you're, having a barbecue outside or something. But we're outside that realm. All right, still looking good. Still have our generous seam allowance around that B4 piece, so we are ready to press. I don't need my template anymore. Let's head to this sewing machine. We got our 4 pieces here. Alrighty. So all of my settings are the same still. I have a slightly shorter stitch length. And we are going to sew from one seam allowance all the way down to the other. Let's remove that pin to get started. I'm going to start by back tacking, just going forward and back once. That just kind of locks it in place. So it doesn't. So our pieces don't start to unravel once I, start removing the fabric or the paper. Alright, that's our first one. Just chain piece all these fellers. Still gonna back tack. You hear trains too. We sometimes hear trains here. At my parents' house, we hear trains quite a bit. It's not very often, though. Yep, planes, trains, and automobiles, for sure. I do think it's kind of fun that I live in a city where you can see all types of transportation all at once. I think that's just kind of cool. Except for maybe, like, a rocket ship. Oh, you hear fireworks for high school graduation? Oh, sheesh. Any excuse for fireworks, right? All right, done. I'm gonna snip these threads close to the edge here, and let's snip these first threads close, and then the rest, the threads are pretty short because we've chain pieced them. So see, we got our little chain going here. Let's snip these apart. Then we'll be ready to press. Make sure my iron's heated up again. Okay, this is it. We are going to press our last little piece over. It's looking all blobby still. Looks like a crazy piece, but wait until we trim the edges. It'll look amazing and perfect and magical all of a sudden. So, all right, let's go over here. Oh, you're hearing tree frogs, Gina. Oh, how fun. I love hearing the froggies. So I'm visiting my parents' house again on Friday. So hopefully I get to hear all their little froggies. And our Finish It Friday is going to be from their house again. So I'm excited for that. For Finish It Friday, that's when we take the first Friday of the month and we work on a project that we haven't worked on in a while. I mean, this time we're working on the Triangle Tango quilt. So we have kind of worked on that recently, but I want to lay it out and get all my pieces in order. So at my parents' house, I'm going to lay out the whole quilt on the floor. I'm going to make sure that none of the pieces with the same fabric are touching, and then we'll do all the rotation of the blocks. So all the blocks get rotated in a certain way, and that's what makes the design of the triangle tango quilt. So I'm hoping to get all that laid out and then picking up and labeling the rows while I'm at home visiting my parents. So that will be this Friday. Okay. We have our 4 crazy blobby looking pieces. Next up is to make them as clean and nice as these. And we do that by trimming a 1/4 inch from this inside line here, from this line, not this outer edge, but from this line. So we'll leave these here. Let's trim up these B pieces. All right. There we are. I'm going to get my glove on and we'll get a ruler here. This is just my cutting glove so I don't accidentally cut myself with a rotary cutter, you know, don't have an injury like that. I've seen so many injuries on Facebook of people doing that it kind of freaks me out. So I'm trying to make this a habit. It's a little awkward, but I'm trying to make a go of it. So I'm doing a 1/4 inch from that line. I will be cutting paper off, but that's fine. I'm not worried about the paper. I'm worried about having a 1/4 inch from those lines. There we go. So clean that up quite a bit. Let's do this side. This actually might be a good time to get my rotary mat out. Let's see if I can dig that out of my table here. I'll do that after this first one. Okay, oop, I got one more here. One more little line. And then we have like that little corner edge here again. So I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna use a ruler for that. I'm just gonna go boop and boop. That I'm just using that line as a reference. Okay, let's get the rotating cutting mat. I think that'll make this a little easier. Here we go. So, all right, but look how clean and fancy that looks all of a sudden. So just that one step, and look how pretty compared to crazy blob land, right? It's kind of magic. Oh, Jane, you love the little sloth embroidery. Oh, that makes me so happy. So that was that sloth embroidery. If you go to the Penguin and Fish page here, where you are now, my actual page, I took a picture yesterday of a sloth embroidery that I'm working on, and it's a little bit smaller. I may do a bigger version as well, but it's totally in the design process. So I'm just playing with ideas right now. So it's not a kit or a pattern or anything yet, but I'm hoping to have it as one of my new kits coming up. So it's a mega preview showing you guys that the sloth right now. So I will let you know for sure when it's available as a kit, most likely. I may make it a PDF download as well, but for sure a kit in some form or another. But yeah, so if you guys want to just make sure you're on my newsletter, that you're getting my emails, and I will announce it there for sure. It probably won't be for a little bit yet, but it's coming for sure. But yeah, it is right in the baby thinking stages of it. He looks more vivacious and awake than most sloths, so he's a happy sloth. He had his coffee for breakfast. He's good to go for the day. All right. Jane, you'd like a PDF? Okay, that's good to know. That helps me know what to do with it. Yeah, because I'm just thinking I have the unicorn and the Tyrannosaurus and the llama right now as well, and I don't have those as PDFs, so maybe I should make those as PDFs as well. I'm also working on some new designs as well, so if there's I'm totally in new design mode right now, so if you have a request, right now I'm trying to stick to kind of popular animals and popular trends and stuff right now, but if you have a request, let me know. You can direct message me or stick it in a comment or somewhere, or in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group, really, what you might like to see as a new animal or a new kit. I'm actually doing some non-animal ones now, so if there's something you'd like, let me know, like in the next week or so. I'll be drawing more designs, and I'll probably share some with you as I go to. Ooh, mermaid, yes, that'd be cute. Flowers, a cat. Yeah, I don't have just a single cat yet. That seems silly. I should do that. Oh yeah, the squirrel. So I do have a squirrel pattern. Oh, I said squirrel really weird then. squirrel pattern that I did a while back, and it was a free pattern for a little while, and it's not anymore. I should bring that back. So I may do a little sign up or something if you guys wanted to download it. I might not list it yet, or I probably won't sell it as a listing, but I'll do it as a free download. So I will let you know. That's going to take me probably a few days to get together. Jane, I have a giraffe, so I have a giraffe in both a pattern and a kit right now. Although those are always fun to do. Oh, you would like to word embroidery? Like, you're so awesome. Oh, that's cute. You definitely prefer PDF patterns. Oh, that's good. Yeah, sometimes people have strong feelings of really liking or really not liking PDF patterns. Ooh, flamingo. Oh, that's a good one. Those are pretty popular right now, aren't they? Okay, there we are. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. Ooh, Robin, I may have some cactuses coming up, or cacti. A few little succulents I've been drawing. Some smiley succulents. Once I get those sketched out, I'll show you guys those. Pretty. Okay. Oh my god, this is the part that I just can't ever do. Okay, there we go. I just want to see what this looks like. So our B pieces are perfectly trimmed now, and now you can see, they're gonna meet up at these points here. I just think it's gonna be so cute. Oh my gosh, there we go. I have such a twisting these in my head. So, I have a hard time twisting these to get them the right way. So just think how it's gonna be on Finish It Friday. When I have to be twisting all of those blocks for the triangle tango quilt, I'm just going to be rotating them like near all night, just trying to figure it out. But there we go. Pretty. I love it. So we do have this center to do yet. Let me show you the picture again. So here it is right here. We do have each of these gets a little triangle, and those 4 triangles make a square. So that comes after the next step. So first, we have to sew these groupings together. So we have to sew these 2 together, and then we will sew on this triangle once we have our almost squares here. And we do we do have little notches cut out of it. So let me just show you that. Right here, these notches here, that was actually part of the pattern. You can see there was some dotted lines there. Pattern designers do that sometimes because it's helpful when sewing things together. So when we do this, now these kind of match up. It's a little bit of a guide so that when we open it, we won't have to clip any corners off, basically. So that is the plan. So next up, we have to sew these together. We are sewing them down this line. But here's the trick. So this is the part of paper piecing, the assembly, things of note. We need a few things to match up on this, right? And the points that we need to match up are this and this. So we're sewing 1/4 of an inch in. So there's my 1/4 of an inch and there's my 1/4 of an inch. Those points need to match up. And on other paper piecing projects, that can get really, really important, the parts that match up. So we have our paper on this still for that reason, to help us match up points. So here's how I go about doing it. This point here, we got our 2 points that have to match up. That point where it hits that seam allowance right there, and this point there has to match up with that point and that point. So what I do for that is I get a pin. Where'd it go? I get a pin that's as straight as I can get it. This is a little crooked, but it's straight enough. And I will go in one side, right at that point, just straight down. I'm not going in at an angle. I'm going as straight down as I can. And I'm going to just peek on the other side. I want it to come out like right at the seam. So let's just get it a little over so I can get it just right. There we go. So see, it's popping right out in between those 2 seams, and it's right on my seam line right there, okay? So now I'm going to match it up with the side, and I'm actually going to I know it has to connect along this seam, so I'm going to go about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to just poke it in, straight in, and see how close I got. All right, so I need to go a little further down the seam, it looks like. It's a little awkward, but it'll work. So I went a little further down and poked through. And there, we're pretty close to that seam line, so I'm going to call that okay. Now I'm going to put these 2 bits together. So now you can see like my pin is not very straight. That means my lines, my points are not going to line up. I need it straight in all directions. So I need to line up this edge, because that's the edge that we're sewing. And then I need to get this as straight in all directions as possible. And then I know those points should be right on top of each other. Just trying to keep my edge lined up too. All right, right like that. So we should be perfectly lined up on those points right now. So I'm going to grab a Wonder Clip, and I'm going to pop it right at that point. And once I do that, I can take my pin away. So since we have to match up this point too, I'm going to just double check that we are close. So I should be able to go straight down, and I should end up pretty much right at that point. I think we're, in theory, I can separate this a little and get it just perfect. See, we're kind of a little bit into the seam there. So let's just adjust a hair. All right, there we are. Now we're right at that seam. Let's go straight down. All right, and we're pretty much on that line there. So now again, straighten things up. I think we're pretty good to go, and I'm going to throw another clip in there just for good measure. All right, so that's it. My edges are lined up. My points, those 2 points that are the points that need to match, are lined up. Now I just need to sew along this edge. You know what? I think I'm going to do the other ones before I get started on that. So let's do these guys. There's no way to screw this up, is there? No, I don't think so. I was like, oh, did I put it on the right way? But there's no, they're going to be the same either way. So, okay, we're good. Freaked myself out there. All right, again, this point first, going straight down. Good, we're right in that seam. That's going to match up with this point, going about 1/4 inch. I think I got to go a little farther. There we go, right on the line. Perfect. All right, now let's align those edges, that top edge that we're going to match that seam up. And then get this as straight as we can get it. It looks pretty good. I have 2 more of these guys out. I'm going to have to open up my tin. All right, and then let's do that second point. Just double check. I think we could probably get away with not doing it because they're so close, but it's kind of fun to do it. All right, yeah, I gotta go a little up. Yeah, actually, it wouldn't hurt. I think I'm gonna just leave it. Let's wing it like this as is. I think once I get that first point up, we're probably going to be pretty good on that second point. So I'm going to just leave that. Get another clip out. Let's do this one. This one wasn't on your short list, but you're looking forward to it now? Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Barbara. Oh, there we go, right through the seam. I did it backwards this time. I did the A piece, or the B piece on top, but that shouldn't matter. Ooh, that was a good stab right in the middle of the line there. Doesn't really matter what direction we sew these in, I don't think. Make sure that's straight. Trying to get the edge straight and that pin straight. Looking good. You know, I just realized this point right here matches up too. We'll actually be covering this point because this is where we'll put that. That's where we'll put that extra piece, but it doesn't hurt to kind of line that up as well. I think I'm just going to let it be because it is going to be covered up by our last piece. But that is another point of contact where 2 points meet. So I should have maybe addressed that too. But again, that's the part we're going to be covering up with our little triangle. So for the sake of getting this done, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But typically I do like making sure all of my points are touching. All the points that need to match with another point. Scooch over here. I think that's the best that's going to get. Line this up. If I have this way over here, it shifts the top layer, or it shifts this front layer over. And if I have it shifted this way, it'll shift it this way. I need it exactly straight for the points to match up. And if they don't match up, it's not the end of the world, but you know, it's nice when they do. And again, with this particular paper piecing block, we could just line it up and stitch along this line. They did a pretty good job at matching for the pattern. However, in another foundation paper piecing, you might not have edges that line up so lovely and perfect. So you are going to have to depend on these points matching up. Or sometimes when maybe the design is like something, you know, like the clock, for example, when it's something that you know what it is. In the Splendid Sampler 1, we had the dress. If you have a point off, you know, the bodice of the dress might look totally weird, right? So in that case, it's important these points are more important in some other foundation paper piecings than this particular one, but you know, it's good practice to get them good while you can. All right, I think we're ready. Let's sew these. We're going to sew along that line. And actually, once we're done sewing, there is one piece of paper. We're going to leave the paper in still, but there is one piece of paper that we can take out, and that is going to be this seam allowance. So I'll show you that in a sec. I'm trying to think. I think I need to, well, I'm going to stitch exactly on the line again. I think there was a trick if you were like a little on the inside or the outside of the line, but I'm going to err of going right on the line. All right, we're going through our little points there, so hopefully they matched up. This paper does want to slip a little all over the place, so I am feeling it kind of move around a little bit. I'm trying to hold it down the best I can. Next up. And I'm still putting a little back tack in. Ooh, I maybe forgot it on that one, but oh well. All right, let's move that guy. I like having my stiletto here just to act as a extra little pointy finger. Hold things down. All right. Do our points. All right, and we have one more. Yep, it's nice when they do match, that's for sure. Ooh, it is really sliding around. So the feed dogs aren't gripping to paper like they do on fabric. So that's why I'm having to kind of guide it a little bit more. But it works. We're doing it. A little back tack, and here we go. Scissors. Snipping it right on the edge again. All right, let's see what we got here. Exciting. Get it all tangled up here. All my scraps. All right, let's trim those little bits. All right, let's take a little peek. All right, this one is kind of close. The one point looks good. This one looks a little off, maybe. But in theory, pretty cute. It'll kind of spread out a little bit too once we get rid of all this paper, I think. Ooh, that one looks good. So see how those points match up? That one looks fabulous. Awesome. Okay, that looks good. I always like peeking. Not too bad. Like that one. Oh, they're pretty. All right, gosh, that one looks really good too. So awesome. So our points that matter, the points that you'll notice that, because this is supposed to look like a little, L here or whatever. The points that matter, the ones that are visible when they match up and when they don't, those have matched up really well, I think. And again, in theory, these should match up down here, but we're going to be putting that extra little triangle on there, so I'm not as worried about that. So we're going to press these. I'm going to, something that's a little helpful before you press when you want to leave the papers in is I'm going to actually take out the seam allowance paper. I don't always do this because sometimes you want to have these points visible, but I think they'll still be visible if I take them out. But this is going to make it lie a little flatter as we press. It's going to make it easier to press open. So this is going to take a little bit of time. But let's get rid of these seam allowances. And just looking at the time here, I think we might do that center little square tomorrow. So it's the center square, well, the little triangles that we got to put on the ends of all these, and then sewing these pieces together. I think we might be doing that tomorrow, but we'll see. Let's get these pressed. Maybe we can pick out the fabric at least tonight. All right, that's one. It does, all this taking the paper out does take a bit of time, and I'm being extra careful because I don't want these other pieces to tear off. I just want to get the seam allowance because I think that's going to be a little helpful for us. I suppose you wouldn't have to do this, but it does reduce some bulk when we sew things together. Hi Sharon. Oh good, I'm glad you like it. It's coming together for me. I'm getting to the fall in love stage. I've talked about this before, but there's always a point. You know, I always can like a block, but there's always a point that I fall in love with it, and it's every single block. And I think now I'm starting to feel the love. Like once it's all starting to develop, you can see it come together. To me, that's like the magic of foundation paper piecing. So I'm getting pretty excited now about it. Seeing those points match up. That was when I fell in love. Seeing the points match up. That was the moment for this block. Oop. There we go. One more after this, and we'll press it. Let me make sure my iron's on again. Oh, you were gifted a tweezers that is L-shaped from Tulip Pink. Oh, that would be a great tool for this. One of those tweezers with that L that you can get in here. Do I have one of those near me? I don't. Maybe I don't have one. That could be two. But yeah, just to get like these little bitties in there, that would be helpful. Oh, I did that side already. All right, this is the last one, and then we'll press these. I believe I'm looking at the instructions right now, and we press these with an open seam, which makes sense because there's a lot of bulk here. So pressing them open will distribute the bulk on either side of the seam allowance. That should make it a little easier for us to sew those little corner bits on too. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. I would like to finish this tomorrow. All right, there we go. So let's press. All right, I'm going to kind of finger press these open first, I think. So I'm going to lay it flat because this is going to, again, I don't really want to run my iron on this side because then this ink might get on my iron. So I'm just going to kind of press these open and then flip it around. Maybe that's not the best idea. We'll see. Just trying to get it flat here. There, let's give that a press. I think this will do the job. Okay. Oh, there, that's a nice hot iron. That got super duper flat, so check that out. Oh, yep, and our seam looks great, pressed open. I think getting rid of that paper is really gonna help reduce the bulk when you sew this together. So there we are. Those points match up fabulously. All right, and this is that little corner that we have to cut tiny little triangles yet. We'll have to sew an itty bitty triangle right on there. Luckily we have this seam allowance as a guide still, and it is just our 1/4 inch. So that guy's ready for tomorrow. I'm not taking the paper out until the end. I probably could take it out at this point, but the instructions are having me wait to the end, so I'm gonna wait to the end. We can use some of these points to match up these blocks when we sew them together, but again, I'm not sure it's really necessary at this point. But we'll follow the instructions. Maybe there's something I'm missing about leaving the paper in still. I suppose it doesn't hurt. It holds everything together in a nice solid bit, so actually it's probably good. We'll leave the paper in, especially since it is getting nice and flat after taking that seam allowance. Nope, I'm not a rebel today of taking those papers out. I think it's just gonna, I mean, since it's pressing so flat, I don't think it's gonna be a problem at all. Sometimes it doesn't press so flat and they wanna stay up, then I maybe would do it, but I think taking the papers out of the seam allowance, I think that has really helped with this. Ah, look at it come together there. I wonder if it said to take the paper out of the seam allowance. Press each numerical beginning with the blah 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 after adding left. Okay, repeat the process for each piece. Stitch section A to B. So, oh yeah, so I was a little bit of a rebel taking the paper out of the seam allowance here because that wasn't part of the instructions yet, but I think it's a little helpful. If there was a point that we needed to match up like this to a different section that came later, like some more intricate foundation paper piecing, then I probably would not have taken the paper out. But in this case, we don't really have to match anything else up. These were the only real points we had to match, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Ooh, I didn't press that open very well. Let's adjust that. But I wouldn't always press or take the paper out of the seams. Oh, I can't get that. Let's just try and get it from this side without getting on the printing. I think that'll do. Pretty. So yeah, let's decide on that center tonight yet, but I think we'll finish it up with where we're at now for the evening. Oh, thanks, Terry. Yeah, this is one of those ones that when you start, it's just like, oh my god, what am I getting myself into? But now that we're this far up with it, you know, it's fun. Oh, here, let's press on the mat this way. All right, I think we got our open seam. Nice hot iron. Okay. There we are. It is totally coming together. Look how pretty. Ugh, I love it. So we'll still lose 1/4 of an inch on all these edges, so it's going to get a little smaller. So this square is actually going to be a bit smaller than that. Let's line it up a little nicer. Okay, so I do kind of like the idea of a color in the middle there. You know, I do have these little bits. You know, we talked about a little turquoise. This almost matches this blue. I suppose we could go like this. Just lay it on top. Get a glimpse of what it looks like. Be a fun way to just peek. Oh my gosh, that's really cute, isn't it? I don't even think I want to look at another thing. I like that little blue center. Okay, the end. It has flowers in it too, which go with all the other flowers. And it has a little bit of white, which goes with all of our white. I think we're going with this blue. Pretty. Oh my gosh, I love it. So, okay, tomorrow we will focus on that. And then all we have to do is sew these 4 pieces together and pull out all the little papers. That actually takes some time. But, you know, I don't know. We'll have to read the instructions to know how to make these triangles, but once we sew it on, we're golden. Then it's just a 4-patch sewing together. So yay! Okay, I love that blue so much. Here, let me show you guys a little bit closer. I'll just zoom you guys in here. There we go. I think this is just going to be so pretty. Yep, I like it. Yeah, I'll take a good picture of it. I think we'll get it yet. Cute! All right, you guys. that is it for tonight. I'm going to flip you guys around and we'll call it an evening. Okay, and here's my long hair again. It's funny, I don't ever even wear it like this at home, really. I always have it in a ponytail. But yeah, so this is the length from here to there of what it grew in 2 years, and it's all different lengths because it all started about this long over my whole head. So you kind of can't tell, but there we go. That's how long it is. Funny. All right, but here is our little finished squares. There's again what it looks like on the back. Our A pieces connected to the B pieces. And I really think this blue is going to look so cute. Let's see if I can get a little test of it there. Yes, cute. Like it. All right, I think that's just going to be adorable. Oh, pretty. Just a little spark of blue. So awesome, you guys. I will get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies again for you. And we'll finish this up tomorrow. We're going to just, I have a hunch that this might take a little bit longer than the hour to finish tomorrow, but I want it done. So we're going to just stay till I get it finished because Friday will be Finish It Friday. So it'll be a totally different project. I'd like to get this project done before I head out of town. So awesome, you guys. Thanks again. And I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central. Have a great evening. Good night.